Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self. Good morning.
Good morning, Kate. How are you doing this morning?
I am great. I slept well. I am full of energy.
That's awesome. So we're going to have your full self. As you texted me, you're coming in hot today.
Coming in hot. Full of energy.
I love it. Well, I'm super excited about today's topic. And so we have our first guest speaker today.
I know. I am so excited.
I know. Hey, good morning, Carmen. Just noticed. So please say hello to us. She says, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice. Stephanie is joining us. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning.
Awesome. And so please continue to say hello to us as you are joining us. If it is your first time, we'd like to know that as well. And so I did see some new people popping up for today's episode. And so I'm super excited about that as well.
Yes. Welcome.
Yes.
Renee. We're happy to have you, badasses.
She says, yay, good morning. It was funny. I was talking with Renee the other day and she was like, I'm so looking forward to 9:30 on Friday. It just helps me to set things right for the weekend. And so she was looking forward to today's show. That. And Eric, hello, Eric. So glad you joined us. And so, today we won't have an inspirational song. When we get to our guest speakers, we have decided that we are going to highlight a talent, a gift, or an area that they plan to grow in. And so it'll be a little bit of a different episode today.
Yeah. And it's just beautiful to let people kind of express themselves the way that they want. And music really resonates for us. And I know it resonates for a lot of people, but sometimes, you're just not musical or, but you have something else that you really, love to give to the world.
Absolutely. And so as we get into today's episode, you'll see, and we'll talk a little bit with Emily about what her talent is. And as that starts to happen, we want you to then ask some questions. So I did post there that I wanted to welcome everyone to ask questions. We want this to be interactive today.
Yes, definitely.
And so how about we do this? How about we go ahead and bring Emily in and get started?
Yes. Can't wait.
There we go. I'm switching her over to the main screen.
Hi.
Good morning, Emily. Welcome.
Morning. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited about this conversation.
We are excited as well. And we are excited to be able to introduce you to our badass members that join us every week. And I definitely consider you a part of that group as well.
Yeah.
You're such a badass.
I'm a badass.
You are.
I love it.
So you guys actually know each other or have, so that's how we are knowing Emily at this moment. So why don't you tell us how you know each other?
Well, Sarah is, I call her my cousin. My great aunt was her step grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So it's step, but it's still family. And the people that she loves are some of the people that I love. And so for me, that's family.
Yeah. And it was the only grandmother that I knew. And Emily and I didn't necessarily cross paths growing up. We were talking about the fact that apparently she saw me and her grandma, which was my great aunt, my great step aunt, would point me out and say, oh, that's your cousin. But we never spent, as she mentioned, we never spent Thanksgiving together. But we always knew of each other. And we really ended up getting more connected later on in life.
Yeah. And let me tell you guys, as a teenager, Sarah was like this shining light.
Aw.
She would be in these plays and like my jaw would be on the floor. Like not only was she so beautiful, it was just this essence that she had where she just like, you felt her presence. And it was absolutely amazing. And then my grandma would be like, that's your cousin. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's mine. I'm so excited.
Oh, you're so sweet. That's so sweet.
I love this story. When I heard it, initially, I just love it because that is so Sarah. And then I that feeling of adoration that you have when you're a kid, like, and you are looking up to someone and you are picturing yourself with them or near them or as them. That's what I picture you doing, Emily, is just adoring her. And I love it. I love how genuine
and
it is.
it was her strength that came across. Like I was like, I want to be that badass. Like I want to be her. It was so beautiful. And then I would like, come up at the end of the play and be like, hi. And she'd have like 50 people like trying to say hi. And she's like, oh, hi, and I'd be like, okay, she said hi to me. Like,
I don't remember that whatsoever.
I know. It's okay. It's okay.
I don't remember 50 people being around me either.
It felt like it when I was, a little kid.
That's so sweet. That's awesome.
Right.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's get into your story. And so we gave a little bit of a preview in our introduction to everyone. And one of the things that you said is that you described your past as hell. And when you were diagnosed with bipolar disorder, can you talk a little bit about that? How it is that it felt, what it felt like when you suffered from it, and when it is you were diagnosed?
Yeah, it's funny because I got a title for it, the diagnosis, in 2011. But as soon as I got the diagnosis, it was just like, oh, that explains my childhood. That explains my adolescence. That explains my 20s. Oh my goodness. That explains my 30s. It just, I could see all the patterns, but I couldn't see the patterns before that. And I literally, I liken it to two different people. I was this manic person making all these, just irrational, impulsive decisions and, randomly getting married, randomly moving out of the state, like just impulsive, and then spending more money than I had, like just this crazy roller coaster. And then I would crash and I would feel like the worst person in the world, so hopeless and horrible. And I couldn't trust myself. And I think that was the scariest part. Like I would say, I plan to go see you on Tuesday, but I really don't know who I'll wake up and be that day. And it was this lens of bipolar disorder that literally filtered every perspective that I had. And it wasn't until those glasses were removed that I realized it wasn't the circumstances that were happening. It was my perception of the circumstances.
And Kate, can you turn your speaker down? I think we're getting a little bit of feedback.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
sorry.
Absolutely. No problem. So I love how you describe the lens of how things look a little bit different, that bipolar lens that you said. It's sort of a different perception. And so is there anything else you want to talk about regarding the bipolar, or do you want to jump into the next area of, now it's 2018, you had a change of events, and can you describe a little bit about what happened then?
Yeah. What my belief is that you can handle so much, and then your bucket gets full. And then it just overflows. And my bucket got full in 2018, and I couldn't put another Band-Aid on it anymore. My crazy came out. And I have my master's in clinical counseling, and I was practicing as a therapist, and I was always doing so well because I would have 3 or 4 days where I would knock it out of the park, and I'd be better than any of the other therapists in my department. And I was incredible when I was on, but they didn't know that the days that I was off, I was in bed hating myself. And so they didn't see that. And then obviously I was always very professional. I was able to manage it. I had my crazy on the weekend until 2018. I went into rapid cycling where I didn't know who I was going to be from one day to the next. I didn't even know in the morning. I would have a whole list of clients planned, and I would get through the first 4. And then at noon, I would shut down. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, we got to reschedule my whole afternoon. I got to go. And I had to go lay down. So it became unethical for me to practice. And if I didn't work, I couldn't pay rent. And I had to move in with my mom at the age of 40. And talk about depression. Like, I felt worthless. And that was really scary for me. But I was really grateful that I at least had shelter and food stamps, so I was able to get some of the benefits. But my self-esteem was just trampled. I mean, I felt worthless. Here I am with a master's degree and homeless and, just feeling like there is no good place for me.
Yeah. I'm sorry you went through that, first of all. I mean, that hurts my heart just to hear that you suffered in that way. But from my understanding is that some beautiful things happened while you were in that kind of in those low moments. So your brother sent you something that was kind of a catalyst for you. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So in February of 2019, my brother, he's a prickly pear. He's not warm and fuzzy and kind, and definitely isn't compassionate about mental illness. And he reached out to me and he sent me this book, this audio. It was just the first chapter of this audiobook by Amber O'Hearn. And he said, she had mental illness and did this and it helped. Here you go. My brothers never did anything nice to me, rarely did anything nice to me. And so I got my attention. I was like, oh, kindness from my brother and compassion for my mental illness. And so I listened, and I literally, all I could do, I set it on the toilet, the top of the toilet, and I laid in the bathtub and just listened to the first chapter. And something came over me. There was this knowing that whatever this woman did, it gave me hope that it could happen for me. And just to tell you her story, basically she started doing this diet to lose weight. And she started eating fatty animal meat and stopped eating sugar and processed foods. And she was 2 weeks in, and all of a sudden her husband goes, I'm afraid to say this, but have you noticed what a good mood you're in? And she was like, I am. And he was like, you're like so nice to be around. Like, this is really great. And when you're bipolar, you're so crazy. I mean, you're irritable, you're biting people's heads off, and you're inconsistent, you're unpredictable. And so that was that moment that I was like, ooh, like, I want to do this as a gift for my family, that they want to be around me. And so I was like, if it worked for her, maybe it could work for me. And I started that next day, February 24th, 2019. And I stopped eating all of the things. And to tell you guys I was eating all the things, when I would make cookies, I would make 2 batches so that I could eat the dough of one batch and then cook the cookies of the other batch and then eat all of it.
Oh my gosh.
entire pizzas by myself. Cakes, I would go to Walmart and order like a birthday cake just to have it, just to have a birthday cake in my refrigerator.
Wow.
And donuts and ramen noodles and chips. And oh my gosh, every night I had to have a jar of nut butter or peanut butter on my nightstand so that if I woke up in the middle of the night, I could have a couple of tablespoons. I had to eat every 2 hours, and I was insatiable, and I was so angry when I was hungry. And so I went overnight to eating fatty ribeyes, breakfast sausage, bacon, ribs, chicken, those rotisserie chickens, salmon, just all the animal meat and animal fat. And I never in a million years would have thought that it would have resolved my bipolar disorder. That's crazy. I thought it maybe would help like take the edge off of it.
Right.
I was on 900 milligrams of lithium, 80 milligrams of Prozac, 80 milligrams of Adderall just to get out of bed every day.
Right.
And then Ambien to sleep every night. And it wasn't working. I was not functioning. None of the medications were working. And this did. Eating steak worked. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And I had my last manic or depressive episode in April of 2019. Went back to work full time in June of 2019. My psychiatrist tapered me off of my meds. My last psych med was September of 2019. And I've been knocking it out of the park ever since.
Wow.
That's awesome. Not only did this help you with bipolar, but in 2019, you were also hospitalized. And can you talk a little bit about that and how that also was impacted by what you found out?
Yeah, my story is kind of a twofer because I had no idea what was lurking under the surface. Whenever I started to heal, whenever I started to remove the toxins that were just causing all the confusion of the inflammation in my body, and we started to pull back that curtain, I realized that there was a lot more. And in March of 2019, so February 24th till March 12th of 2019, I was hospitalized because I had acute dysphagia. My throat would not swallow even water. And they checked mechanically. There was nothing wrong. It was neurological. My brain was not communicating to my throat to tell my throat to swallow.
Wow.
And I was hospitalized. They did an MRI. They found lesions on my brain, and they diagnosed me with a lumbar puncture, multiple MRIs, and blood work with multiple sclerosis. And soon after that, I couldn't walk without an assistive device, and I had delayed and slurred speech.
Wow.
And I literally couldn't talk. Like I would tell my son, go take a bath, and it would come out, go take a bath. And I literally couldn't talk and couldn't walk without like a walker. And at that point, a logical person would say, oh, I started this all meat diet and now I'm hospitalized and can't talk and now I can't walk. But there was that knowing in me. I knew that not only was this the right answer for me to resolve my mental illness, this was also the right answer for me to resolve my multiple sclerosis. My last symptom of MS was May 9th of 2019. I've had 6 MRIs. My last MRI showed no new activity. I do CrossFit every morning at 5 a.m. And I'm a completely different person.
This is crazy.
I know. It's stupid. It's like stupid. It's like,
it kind of sounds like nonsense in a way.
I know. I wouldn't believe it. If it hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't believe it. So any of you out there, I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's amazing.
But and I don't think it's so much about what I did eat. I think it's so much about listening to my body.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to ask you, is that you intuitively figured this out. Can you talk a little bit about what does intuition feel like for you? What is it that people could gain from what it is you went through? And when they're dealing with something, how is it that they could listen to themselves, or what are the things that they could do to help themselves?
That's a really good question, because I look back now and I don't know how I found that clarity in that moment, because I was in the pit of mental illness hell. Like I was in the darkest place. Like I was either, and especially when the MS came, I was either going to the psych ward or the nursing home, or I was going to kill myself. I had many, many, many thoughts of I'm useless. You know, I can't work. I'm not anything for my family. I'm just this bump on a log who stays in bed all day. And what I would attribute it to is that I stopped. I stopped because I had to. I had to stop working, but I stopped. And I was able to, whenever that message came through from my brother, it was just like this little like glimpse of light in this dark, dark place. And I was so hopeful. And so I just held on to that hope. And now whenever I have clients, I actually tell them, okay, I know that can you stop for 5 minutes? Stop for 5 minutes every day. And that's it. And then eventually we'll get to the place, because that's the only way that you can hear that inner voice. You're listening to this podcast and listening to this doctor and listening to this aunt and listening to your mom and listening to your dad, and you're listening to everyone. The only person you need to listen to is you. And you can't listen if you're not still.
So I don't want to make assumptions on what you mean by stop. I think I know what you mean by stop, but dig in a little bit to that, please.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of lies that come at us, and they're always in the past or they're always in the future. There's lies that I failed. There's lies that I'm going to fail. But the only place that there is truth is in the present. And so whenever you stop and you literally, like I coach my clients, you literally have these thoughts of what is happening right now. Right now, I am sitting in a chair. Right now, I hear somebody mowing the lawn. Right now, I see Sarah and Kate. Right now, I feel the air, or I smell the laundry detergent. You have to get into that moment, and you feel ridiculous at first. Like you feel like a fruitcake sitting there going, I hear the air conditioner. But if you do that for 5 minutes, something will switch in, and you will be like, oh, that's what you're talking about. And then it's like learning a new language. You become fluent in the language of still. And then that's where the answers come from.
Yeah, for me, when Emily and I have talked about this in the past, it really is about silence. It's being in the present. And in order to be in the present, you have to be silent. In order to listen to your higher self and get in alignment with what that higher self is trying to explain to you. And so those are some of the things that Emily and I have talked about as far as just making sure that you're taking the moment for yourself, being in the present to be able to listen.
And that's the only thing that's true. The lies of the past are lies. The future, you really don't know. You're guessing what might happen. But the truth the now is the only truth. I truly know that I hear somebody mowing the lawn. I truly know that I'm looking at Sarah and Kate. I know this. And then you get into that that knowing, and then it just becomes a fluent language for you.
Yeah. I'm going to post a couple of things that people are saying. And so Carrie said, kudos to you, Emily. I'm exhausted just listening to your story. And then she also added, I can't imagine what you felt like. And then Renee said, Emily, you're amazing. If you don't mind me asking, did you ever go through TMS during your time of treatment?
I have heard of TMS, and I've had a couple of clients who have researched that. I haven't had one that actually tried it. And it sounds very, very helpful. But I personally have not. Thankfully, I figured this out and didn't have to.
Yeah. So you mentioned in there that you help your clients. And so through this journey, one of the things that you not only did was you helped yourself heal yourself, but you ended up taking that. And I always say that with every difficulty we have in life, there is always an opportunity. And you found that opportunity in the darkness. You found the light, and not only was the light to help you, but it was also to help others. So can you talk a little bit about how it is that you help people on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. It's so funny because once I was capable, I went back to work full time in June of 2019. And I was so grateful to be back, and I was so excited. And then I quickly realized that I don't belong in the mental health field because I was sitting across from my clients with depression and anxiety and bipolar disorder and mental illness. And I felt like my hands were tied behind my back. Licensing board did not want me talking about food. Insurance panels did not want me talking about food. They wanted me to diagnose them and then tell them what talk therapy I did with them. And that became unethical for me because I was just like, I know what could help you if you stop drinking that soda and those chips and the cookies and you get some fat, even if it's avocados, some like good, healthy fats. And I couldn't tell them. And so I quickly realized that I don't care about the letters behind my name. I don't care if I'm called a therapist. Call me a coach. I just want to help people. And it really was cool whenever I was able to go into coaching, because then I was able to watch people have effective transformations. In therapy, I remember it was like Groundhog Day. Like people would come with, this happened to me as a child, and this is what's happening to me now in my marriage, and this is my self-worth, and blah, blah, blah. I give them coaching exercises. They'd go on their way. They'd come back this next week. I have these childhood traumas. I have this trauma in my marriage. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I went to another colleague and I'm like, I feel like I'm a bad therapist. Like they're not getting better. And they're like, no, that's, you're holding space for them. And, they're, you're doing no harm. I'm like, no, that's not enough for me. And so now to get to watch my clients actually transform and get that self-love and that self-awareness is everything to me. And so it makes sense that I was able to use my training from before and now just transfer it into coaching. And it's so much more than food, but that's where we start. That's the foundation of removing the junk. And then we can build and see what it is that your body and your life, your spirit really wants to create.
I'm going to pull up Stephanie's comment. She said, thankfully, more and more is coming out about what we eat and how we can heal ourselves. Your story is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think, Emily, through your journey, one of the other things that you discovered is that other people, for you, it was meat. Like that's how it helped you. But for other people, they maybe need something else. So can you talk a little bit about that discovery and the conversations you've also had with pretty much hundreds of people at this point in helping not only those that you work one-on-one with, but you also do something else as a free service. And then you also work with other people that have a similar concept to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was when I first started. My Instagram was at Carnivore Minds. Okay. Because I really felt like that was, foundational and everything. And then I started meeting with clients and realizing that we are all very different. And it's more about their inner clarity. And so that's why I changed it to Inner Clarity System, because what we need to do is we need to eliminate what the problem is. You know the foods that you're supposed to eat that make you feel best. The foods that are toxic and that are making you feel like crap. You know this. So all I do is I hold you accountable to what you are saying, to what your inner clarity is telling you. And sometimes it's having a half a cup of white rice every other day. Sometimes it's vegetables. Sometimes it's, I don't know, whatever comes up. And so it's not carnivore. Carnivore was my placebo effect. Your placebo effect might be something else. We know that it's probably not, soda and, French fries. But also what I do is I have a free food support group every Saturday. And at first I thought this was crazy because I was like, who's going to just come to this? I record these meetings and I put them up on YouTube. And I thought, there's no way everybody, I'm an open book. I tell everybody my story, but nobody else is. Every single week it's been a year and 4 months, every single Saturday. And number one, that right there is miraculous. I have mental illness, bipolar disorder, and I was consistent for 68 weeks.
Yeah.
Having a meeting every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's crazy. That's crazy that I was consistent enough to do that. But anyway, they come and they have free access to me. You got a coach for an hour. Like, what are your questions? And they come and they share their stories. And then we record it and we put it up on YouTube for the really mentally ill people who can't even come into a Zoom meeting.
Right.
And they send me emails and they're like, thank you so much. This was so healing. I could never show my face or even enter a Zoom meeting, but I needed to hear this message. And I feel like a family. I feel like part of the group because I watch every week.
Yeah. I'm also watching some of the conversations that are happening on the side. And one of the things, so Carrie was asking a little bit more about what TMS is, but I thought it was interesting. Renee, I'm going to pull up your last comment. So she was answering Carrie and she said her sister actually has severe bipolar and depression and does TMS, but it has actually done more harm than good. And so, and I know for you try not to bash anything because something might be good for someone. And so it might not be good for another person. And so,
well, and that's why it's so important for us to get to the place where we can say, as a professional, I know nothing. I know nothing about you. I know nothing. We can take tests. We can take blood work. We can, do psychological testing. I know nothing about what's going on inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
You do. And I can't hear your inner knowing. You're the only one in there. You're the only one. So I just have to teach you to listen and hear that inner clarity. And then we can follow that girl or that boy or that spirit's lead, because that's the only solution.
Yeah.
And it might be TMS.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so one of the things that you do with people is you use what's called the body code. We haven't really talked about that. And then there's a method that you use. And so I thought we might show people. So this is one of Emily's gifts, one of the things that has been given to her in order to help individuals. And so maybe talk a little bit about how it is that you do it, what it is you use, what the purpose of the pendulum is, things like that.
Yeah, the body code came to me through just a divine connection. Someone reached out to me, was just a follower on Instagram, and she was like, "Hey, can I do a free session for you?" And I get those messages a lot. Hey, I can do this for you. Hey, I can do that for you. And I'm like, thank you. No problem. No, thank you. You know, I appreciate it. But there was something about this girl. There was something about her that I was just like, yes, you can. And I met with her on Zoom and we did the first session and we talked about releasing trapped emotions. And if you guys don't know about the emotion code by Bradley Nelson, Dr. Bradley Nelson, or the body code by the same guy, Dr. Bradley Nelson, he goes into detail about all of the different traumas that are trapped in our bodies. And so she started doing sessions on me and it was phenomenal. She got me through quite a lot of very, just difficult situations. And she kept telling me, you're supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be using, energy healing. You're supposed to be doing this. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. No, thank you. No, this is for you. And I was sending her all sorts of clients, and then all of a sudden, I had some conversations with my cousin, Sarah, and the divine connection told her to send Emily a pendulum. And I got this in the mail and I knew that I was supposed to do this. I knew I was supposed to do this energy healing. And she said, when she sent it to me, when you get it, call me and I'll explain to you how to use it. And that was everything to me because coming from this Christian background, I was just like, oh, that's of the devil. That's divination. That's, this, that's that. And she was able to break it down in a way that I understood. And what I love about Sarah is that she comes from the same town that I'm in right now. And so she was able to explain it in my language. And literally what it is that we have this subconscious, this Holy Spirit, and it knows. And whenever you ask that Holy Spirit and that connection, this is just an extension. I'm not asking the crystal. I'm not asking the pendulum. I'm just saying, hey, can you give me a yes or no answer? And I connect with my Holy Spirit, my inner clarity, my subconscious to then get those answers. And I use this now even to decide what to eat. I've been able to eat more foods. And so I've included some more foods and I test with muscle testing with my pendulum, which foods to eat and how much and when. And I use it to navigate a lot of things for me and for my clients.
That's great.
Why is using the pendulum muscle testing? Can you make that connection for me?
Sarah, could you explain that better than me?
So, I think if you talk about the sway test and those types of things, that might help individuals to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, like the sway test is like you take, a slice of cheese. Let's call this a slice of cheese. And you have the slice of cheese and you say, this is good for me. If you lean forward, this is true. If you lean backwards, that's a lie. That's not true for you. And so you can do that in the middle of a grocery store. You can take a bag of rice and be like, this is good for me. And you'll lean forward or you'll lean back. And so this is just an extension of that muscle testing.
And I would like to try it with, so there's a couple things to know. So one, you first have to test it out with what is yes. You say something that is true for you, then you say something that's not true for you to see how it is that the pendulum reacts. So for Emily, it actually goes around when it's a yes, and it stays still whenever it's a no. For me, it actually goes the opposite direction. So mine tells me yes, and then it goes the opposite direction for no. So you have to test that out for you as well. And then you also can't use it for predictions. I actually tried. And so like I did it for college football. It's like, oh, you can't do like future stuff. You have to do like in the moment, in the present type things. It can't be like, will I get this job? Or, but you can ask questions like, is this my right path, forward, or is this something? And so I want our audience to, like, if there's a question you want Emily to ask, and then Emily also has to have your permission. She can't just automatically start doing it for you. She has to have permission to be able to do it. And then there are extensions, like I could do it for my daughter, or I could do it right for my husband, but I can't go, like, I couldn't do it for Kate because Kate is not a part of my family, even though I consider her a part of my family.
I was like,
yeah.
So if there are questions from our audience, something you want Emily to ask, like if there's something you've been suffering from, like you've been getting headaches, or I haven't been able to sleep, or, asking those types of things, like what are those things, trying to figure out what those things are related to. Emily, through the body code, goes even further. It actually takes them down quite a trail of different types of things. And maybe you can talk while we're waiting for people to maybe ask questions. Otherwise, Kate and I will jump in. Can you talk a little bit about what the body code really points out or focuses on?
It blows me away. Like, it absolutely blows me away, because it takes me down areas that I didn't even know existed in my own body. It takes me into misalignments in my lymphatic system, misalignments in my liver, or even the skeletal, the bones. It'll be like, oh, there's a misalignment in T3. And so you're sitting there going, okay, well, I need to go to a chiropractor to go, pop T3 or whatever. But the misalignment is from energy. And so that has nothing to do with physical manipulation. That has something to do with releasing that trapped emotion and that energy. And what's really cool is sometimes it drills down and it lets you know what that is. Like I had one client, she was raped at the age of 14, and that was being stored in her body in that space. And then sometimes it doesn't tell you exactly what happened. It just says, okay, there's this trap, let's release it. This trapped emotion, let's release it. And I think that for me personally, because I don't have a background in medicine, I don't know these things. There's no way I can sit there and look at Sarah and go, I think there's a problem in your pancreas, but I can use this, the body code. And then what I love is that the proof's in the pudding. Like, it's just amazing how these clients are getting better. And this is not just me. Like, go research the body code or the emotion code. It's amazing, the people who are having stuff resolved.
Yeah. And I worked with Emily with someone that we'll actually be interviewing later on. And it was interesting. She had reached out to him and said, can I do this on you? And he was like, sure, whatever, that type of thing. But she narrowed in on some specific things. And the next day he felt so much better. And even one time it was like two days later, and so I was asking him, he's like, she's saying all this stuff that I just don't really understand. And so I was explaining it to him, and I said, well, how do you feel? I said, are you feeling, think about how you felt and how it is you feel now. Do you feel a difference? He's like, I do. It's weird, and so it was
Mhm.
interesting to watch it. And I think the other thing is that it's negative energy. Sometimes it has to do even with ancestral or
Ah,
entities and things like that. So maybe Emily, talk a little bit about that.
yeah, I can't believe the things that are there that you can unlock. I mean, some of it is generational curses, and
Mm.
you walk through life and you're like, like I just keep hitting a wall. I keep hitting a wall. I keep hitting a wall. And then they'll do a session with me and I'm like, okay, there's this generational curse that prevents success. And they're like, yes. And then I track it. I'm like, okay, is it from the father's line? Is it from the mother's line? How many generations does it go back? And then we release it. And the really cool part is that releases it all off of all of their ancestors and all of their children. So it releases that generational curse. And then entities. I at first I was just like, being this, good little Christian girl, which I don't even identify with that anymore. But it was like, oh, this entity, this is the devil, this is demons, this is, but what I found is these entities are just like little lost dogs. Like they're just these energies that just kind of don't know where to go, but they feel comfort with you. So it's just like this little stray dog that's just like tucked underneath your side and is just resonating with your lower vibrations,
Mhm.
resonating with your low self-worth, resonating with your hopelessness and your misery, because misery loves company.
Right.
Mhm.
And what we do is we just go, hey, puppy, like, I thank you so much for being here. I'm glad that you found comfort in this person, but she can no longer serve you because she's getting ready to raise her vibration. And we're going to send you off in love
Mhm.
to the light, to wherever you need to go, to God. And we release these entities, these dark energies. And it's been amazing. I've had clients that it's resolved their cravings,
Hmm.
food cravings.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, it's kind of like the little devil on your shoulder or the angel on your shoulder. The little devil's going, you deserve some cookie dough. You really deserve some cookie dough. You've had a bad week. You should eat some cookie dough. And it's just like, and then you just kind of like flick that little guy off and you're able to have a little bit more clear thinking.
The thing I liked is, as you and I have chatted about this, is that a lot of people see it as evil versus good, when
Mm.
in actuality, the way that you ended up sort of describing it and how it is that you have been communicated to is that it's really more about lost people, that are like the lost souls, almost like. And as you described, it's more releasing them. They are a negative, instead of evil, it's more negative and positive. So it's sort of darkness and light, which a lot of people equate to evil and good. But what I
Mhm.
really liked is that you're sending them off in love, and you're releasing them to try to find the light, sending them off to source, to God. And so,
Yeah, absolutely. And I thank them.
Mm.
They have served a purpose.
mhm,
Right.
If I didn't know how horrible mental illness felt, I wouldn't experience how good stability and joy and peace and love feels. I
Right.
hated myself for 40 years. And so I'm so grateful for the negative energies and what they they ruffled my feathers. They made me uncomfortable to the point that I was willing to stop eating cookie dough and to eat steaks, and to realize this health and this stability. And I never in a million years would have thought that I would be so thankful for those negative energies. So thankful.
yeah.
And
So I have a couple people, Kate, go ahead, but I do have a couple of people that have asked some questions, and I know
Yeah,
that you may have to turn them just a little bit. So maybe if we can get some clarity from them, things you would need to know. So Tammy said, why can't I sleep a solid night? I wake up every couple of hours and it takes time to get back to sleep. So are there further questions you would, or things you would need to know from her in order to do the pendulum? And then Kate, sound like you also had a thought.
Go ahead, Kate.
Oh, actually, I think we should just do this,
okay.
And then I'll ask you when we're done.
Okay. So I'm going to put this down because I really feel that our physical bodies need to see. I can't just sit here and go, hey, it said yes. Hey, it said no. Your physical body your eyes need to see for that confirmation. It just gives you less to fight against. Okay, so I'm just going to ask for a demonstration at first. Can you please show me my yes? Okay, so my yes is in a circle. And so you can see my hand. I am not moving my hand. Can you please show me no? No. And there's no way that I could have been like, and then made it go still. Like there's no way I could have done that. Okay, so specifically with what was her name?
Tammy.
So can I ask a question about Tammy's sleep? Yes. Okay, so that means that I'm connected enough with Tammy because she asked this question. Okay, and so I'm just using my intuition now to ask specific questions. Is the problem with Tammy's sleep something biological? Yes. Okay. Is the problem with Tammy's sleep something around her circadian rhythm? Yes. Would I'm just basing this off of what I know. Would a practice of ambient lights after sunset help? It's already going. Okay, so ambient lights, which Tammy, that's like not the light that's overhead, like having a lamp or having another, or even having those red blocker glasses, and at sunset, like sunset on, not to have the LED lights. Okay, would this is a practice that I do. Would getting the sunrise in her eyes in the morning help? Yes. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, that's based on me. Like that's my practice. What I do is as soon as I can, I go outside and I take my contacts out. No glasses, and I just get the bare morning sunlight in my eyes. I started out with 5 minutes, and it's really switched my circadian rhythm, because what it did was it told my brain it's this time. Whenever I'm under these lights all the time, my brain doesn't know what time it is. My brain has no idea what time it is. And so that's what you do, is you tell your brain, okay, the sun went down. Like, so you stop looking at computer screens with bare eyes. You have like those, you can get them at Walmart for $10, $5, blue blocker glasses to block the blue light.
Right.
And then to get the morning sun, it's natural, and your body recognizes that and goes, oh, it's sunrise. Okay, cool. And then you get on that circadian rhythm.
So I have one other one. This is Carrie. And so So she said, "Thank you, Emily. I've been doing energy healing since February of 2019, as well, and learned so much. However, I'm experiencing an issue on my face that I'm having trouble healing. Wondering if you can get any info about it to help me."
Yeah, that's definitely general.
Okay.
I would probably have to do a more intimate session with Carrie
Okay.
to figure that out. Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
And Carrie knows you, so
Yes.
reach out.
Text me, Carrie.
And Tammy said thank you. So thanks. So Tammy, we're interested to see if that ends up helping you. So getting those blue blocker glasses to sort of let your body know that it's nighttime, and then getting the sun on your face in the morning time.
Yeah, Tammy, find me on Facebook and send me a message. Let me know how it goes.
I'm connected to both of you, so you can find it through me. So awesome. And Kate, I think you had another question you wanted to dive into.
I did. So when you were talking about, this 40 years of where you've been and how much you kind of hated yourself, and where you are now, I know that it's hard to imagine that your 20-year-old self would have listened to any advice. But at the same time, I'm really curious what this, in hindsight, is there something that could have helped you? Or, now knowing what you know, is there something that you wish you would have known?
Yeah, absolutely. If I could talk to my 20-year-old self, I would tell her that she's not broken. I tell that to every one of my clients. I'm actually writing a book right now called You're Not Broken. Because that was the biggest lie that I believed. And that's what kept me in that cycle of feeling broken, was that I believed I was broken. I looked at everybody else handling their lives, and I wasn't handling it. I wasn't managing it. I wasn't stable. And so I really thought that I was broken and I did not love myself. And so I would tell her, I would tell you guys, anybody that's feeling like I can't keep up with the Joneses, it's because you're not broken. You just got to find your path. And at first I hated it. I hated my mental illness or the way I was, because I felt so horrible about it. And now I realize it's my superpower. I just had to manage it. I had to find a way to work with that. And now I wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't want to be anybody else but me. I love myself in such a way that I can't even put into words how beautiful it is to be in my skin, in my spirit, and then get to experience that with my clients, to watch them. It's like it's contagious. I love myself, and then they work with me, and then they love themselves, and it's just amazing. It's like changing the world one person at a time.
I love it. Absolutely.
So one of the things that I want to do is I'm putting out here, to learn more about Emily, go to www.emilypenton.com.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
So I'm going to send that out there. But let's talk a little bit about, we're almost to the end of our time. What is in store for you in the future? What do you focus on? What do you need help manifesting? What is it that you're wanting from your future?
Yeah. I would like more miserable people.
I find you.
That could be an easy call.
I love miserable people. I love people that feel like they are on a different planet, that they are just the misfit toys, that they are useless and hopeless, and that they've tried everything and nothing works. Because I can't wait to tell them how amazing they are. I can't wait to tell them that they're not broken, they're brilliant. and that there is something so powerful in them, because I feel like I'm like mining for diamonds, because everyone else passes these people up and they're like, oh no, like look at all that dirt on them, like yuck, yuck, yuck. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this. You just got to brush this off and then show them a mirror and go, look, you're a diamond. Like you're absolutely amazing. And then to watch that come forward. So I have different ways that people can work with me. The free way is the Saturday Food Support Group. Just go to emilypetton.com. You can find a way to link into that. And then I do weekly group coaching in Inner Clarity System. And the only thing that sucks about that is it's in a group. So you don't get that intimate connection with me. But for 8 weeks, it's $1,800. And that's kind of a lie, because I give you the link for life. It's not 8 weeks. Like you can come in. I don't care if you knock it out of the park and then you have a bump in the road in 6 months, come back to the meeting. We're there every week. And those meetings are 2 to 3 times a week.
Wow.
And then I have the individual coaching. And again, that's 8 weeks, but that's a lie, because I've never cut anybody off. I continue to help them on their journey. Most of the time, they just don't need me after 8 weeks. And that's $6,500. And if you come to it from this, let me know, because I have an affiliate link and you'll get a discount just because you came through Sarah. And the discount is $1,000 off of the other one. It's $5,500. And then it's $150 off of the weekly. So it'd be $1,650.
Well, I have very much enjoyed working with you and getting to know you even more beyond knowing that we're family, but we have found that we're really sort of soul connected, I think, that has brought us together in this path of us trying to help people. And so I've enjoyed that a lot.
Well, Sarah, you changed my life. If you hadn't sent me this because God told you to, it wouldn't have unlocked so much power. Like you leveled me up, sister. Leveled me up by opening this door that I never would have done. I never would have bought myself a pendulum. I never would have just done. I probably would have eventually, but you really were a catalyst for that. And so I thank you so much. And Kate, I have loved getting to know you. It's for life. It's for life.
Yeah. I can't wait to do more with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope our audience, it seems like they got a lot out of it, out of your story and learning about it. And I just appreciate you being vulnerable with us and sharing us all of these different all the things that you went through and how it is that you found your inner clarity, as well as helping others to find their light in their life.
Not a problem. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.